Good morning. It is Friday, July 12th. My name is Bev. This is the Bev D Show. Little something we're doing with a passion and a will and an obsession to talk, I guess. We started a little thing some time ago. I think it was back in October. And I would have never known that I would be doing this and had so many shows under my belt by this time, but here I am, and I'm very, very happy to be here. Every week I have a guest on our show, and his name is Todd, and I like to call it Tuesdays with Todd, and then we had Wednesday with Todd, and then we were like, well, that's not enough time. So then we were going to have him on today's show, and both of us are in a crunch for being able to record at this time. I have a commitment to myself to want to do these shows at 7 in the morning, and he has things, and I do as well. But that doesn't go without saying a little message for you for the day, for the weekend. First of all, I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you for your emails and your private messages. We are in the process of just wanting to do something good, putting a positive force out to the universe. As corny as that sounds, there just aren't enough. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of pull. There are a lot of leaders out there, or people that are looked at as icons, or really important people because of what they do, or suddenly they were given a name because they did something great. Maybe that's in sports, maybe that's in music, perhaps that's a movie where they won awards and such. And what I think is truly amazing about that is that once you get a following, and once you, let's say you're a sports figure or an actor that, maybe won an Academy Award, and you're in a situation where, so many people loved your movie, so many people loved the way that you performed in sports. It's ironic to me that many of these people, as soon as they're given a platform, then they think or believe that we want to know what their thought, theory, belief system is, and it is it's something to me that kind of stains or ruins what they just achieved, and it's repulsive to me. If I can, my show today is called it's talking about the truth. And at the risk of being, negative or not, necessarily putting out a positive message, I wanted to share. I can't help it. It's my truth. In that suddenly because they played a sport, because they won an award, because they've won this Academy Award or music or whatever, they think that they're the be-all, end-all, and that's what we fell in love with. And to be honest, there are a lot of artists that I absolutely love their music, but I can't stand the way that they put messages out there in a negative content as to the way things are. They love to say what's wrong. They love to say, how things aren't going currently in a very but they aren't solution based. They are not solution based. The goal, and I remember a long time ago, I follow a lot of people. I read a lot of about the leaders and such in our world that. How did they get there kind of stories. And one person that I have listened to and or followed and or read about is Oprah Winfrey. And she said, when you do something, and this is paraphrasing by all means, but when you do something, there's always an intention. There's always a reason you're doing it. And if it's major, take a look at what you're doing and what intention. What is the result that you are expecting from what you're doing? So, for example, we have somebody out there that just won one of the highest achieving awards or, trophies, what have you, in the sports arena. And suddenly, and I mean this, I had never heard of her before in my life because I don't follow that particular sport. But now I do because she's out there saying all sorts of terrible things, and she's a woman, and she's portraying I don't believe that's a good representation of women. And I think that her message is clear. However, I think her delivery is terrible. And then I got to thinking about, well, what did she really want to have happen when she started, just spewing out all of these things and saying, pushing the envelope on, national television and saying, just cussing in front of crowds and, what are you doing? What are you doing? Did you really think that that was going to make things better? Was that really something that you expected a positive result from, or did you just want to stir everybody up? Because I think if she just wanted to stir everybody up, she succeeded. However, the result of stirring everyone up gets people all in an uproar, and then all of the activity or all of the hard works that others have done on themselves and things like that, they've got all this negativity, and boy, isn't it easy to be negative and point the finger and say that folks aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing and such. Well, get out there and do something besides stir the pot is my recommendation. I just came off of a vacation, and it was driving to the East Coast. We went to the beach, and that allowed a lot of time of reflection and thinking and listening to music, and nobody was really talking in the car, so I was just doing a lot of drifting off, and I started thinking about telling the truth and when is and the different, and when we don't tell the truth, the different types of lies or fibs. If it's a fib, it's a lesser harm than a lie. Well, it's a lie. You're not telling the truth. There was a line that I heard many years ago that I always got a kick out of: never let the truth get in the way of a good story. And and while that is very comical, and I do use it a lot and just adore that line, I started thinking about where does it begin, and what was the intent of our lie. And sometimes lies, or softening the truth, they are that we think that's going to help somebody. We are trying to protect them from the truth. But what happens is the truth will always come out. It's undeniable. So whether this person hears about it now or they hear about it later, the truth is going to surface. It can't help it. And so I just wanted to share this brief message with, looking into myself. Am I lying to myself? Am I not being honest with myself? It's got to start there. And if you're not being honest with yourself and you're telling these untruths to yourself to get through a day or to get through, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's something at work, maybe you guys have, a situation where you're just not saying anything to avoid the truth. When in fact, I talked about it yesterday, if you're in sales and you're calling this big account and you haven't done that for 3 weeks, you're trying to close them, you believe in your services, you want them to benefit from those services, but you're afraid. And you're afraid to call them. And the reason why you're afraid is because you're afraid of the possible truth of them telling you, no, not right now, I'm not interested, thank you for all of your efforts, we've went with another company. But in fact, when you call them and you say, hey, it's week 2, I was thinking about you, I was a little nervous to call, I hadn't heard from you, really believe in the product or service, whatever your closing technique is, where you resurface the benefits and features of what you're selling, telling them the truth of how you're feeling and why you haven't followed up is because you wanted them to do business with you. Think about this. Think about the accounts that you've called and you waited. And by the time you waited, they had not heard from you, and they said, when we didn't hear from you, we did go with the other company. So communication and telling the truth, most importantly, looking in the mirror and being truthful with yourself, is the best place to start. And we're not doing that. And I'm saying that in just in a broad stroke across. I don't believe we're doing that. And I believe that there are those of us that do that. And I'm talking about politics, religion, family, relationships, work relationships. We hold back. We aren't honest. We aren't truthful. And I think that it's hindering us as a world. And it all starts with, there's a scripture, hey, the truth will set you free. If you're walking around an honest, truthful person with yourself and the world, you will have a much better day, life, because there's nothing else to hide. For years, there was a couple of years that I was kind of, I was functioning, I was living my life, I was going to work, I was taking care of business, doing that kind of thing, but I knew what happened once I got alone. And I was afraid to tell people how I was feeling, what I had done wrong, what my past was just hovering over my head. I could not get rid of it, and I was trying to hide it. And I was hiding it from the most important person. It was me. I wasn't being honest and truthful with the fact that, you made a mistake. You did something wrong. You could have handled it differently, whatever it was. And so it wasn't that I was out there telling lies. It's just that spiritually and within me, I wasn't being honest with myself. So therefore, I was not telling the truth. And it wasn't until I decided one day, and it's not like a date in history where I'm like, okay, it was on that day that I made a decision. I know it was over a course of time, and I just said, you know what? I don't care anymore. I can't fix, stop, change history. The only thing I can affect is what's going on right now. Now, I have a really bad habit of when things get touchy, when things get bad, I'll just shut down. And I don't want to talk about it. And it's because if I'm being attacked on my past, or let's talk about this more, something that I already packaged up and put away, I don't like to do that. And so in a very unhealthy way, I don't want to talk about it. So I'll shut down. And that is called a defense mechanism. And that's what we do. And so it can be unhealthy, but it also can help protect me for the time until I sort through and figure out exactly what the situation is before I say wrong things, before, I do things that just aren't good for the situation. So, I thought today I would just be honest with you guys and tell you, that this is stuff I'm still working through. So while we do this show and we're doing our best as to get you to thinking about stuff, maybe it's something you could consider. It wouldn't be right if we weren't being honest and truthful. And my nephew Todd, he is in recovery in a couple of ways. One, and he's the one that I have a show with on Tuesdays. One is he is a recovering, to addiction, to drugs, alcohol, what have you. And he's doing extremely well. And he is on the path of inspiring or helping others, or just, helping grieving parents who've lost a loved one. And he started with this group called Hope United. And please go to their Facebook page, go like their page, go check out their website. But they're writing a 3-part series on